It's 1 o'clock. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on this beautiful Thursday. Hopefully it's beautiful where you are. I mentioned a minute ago, if you're on and you don't see one of your friends on, make sure that you're messaging them to pop on because they're not going to want to miss today's webinar. It's brought to you by Playground, and we are so excited to have Daniel Andrews and Sasha Reese with us today to present. I am Jen Slavin. I am the Director of Coaching with the Child Care Success Academy. I started my journey with the Child Care Success Academy in 2016 when we went to our first summit, and ever since then, we were hooked. The program has brought us through so many ups and downs, taught us so many amazing things while we were in the academy, and the connections that we made are just, incomparable and lifelong friends forever. A few years ago, I had worked with Chris Murray on creating a team track because although I was not an owner in the academy, I was a vice president over 9 locations. And I just felt like there was something missing in between what they were coaching on the owner's level and, bringing all that content back to your team and getting them on board, quote unquote, drinking the Kool-Aid. I said, we really need the team track to be able to help the team learn about what they need to do to help their owners, to help drive their businesses forward. And wonderful, exciting thing happened in 2020 when I was brought on as a team coach with the Child Care Success Academy, and the rest is history. So just have been working in a place of passion and excitement where I get to coach and help up-level all those that were in my position and above. And so CCSE is something super special, and so excited to have you here today and be able to host this webinar with Playground, who is such an amazing program and an upcoming program that you're definitely going to want to learn about. During our time together, we're going to dive into how you can utilize AI in your center, and that is going to help you maximize your operational efficiency. We're going to be going through auditing the efficiency of your childcare operations and identifying those areas for improvement. We're also they're gonna walk us through discovering new technologies that you can leverage to achieve those improvements. And you're also gonna learn how to automate yourself out of your operations, which a lot of times that's what we need. We're so caught up in the day-to-day. So how can we help automate some things so we can kind of work on our business and not in it, making your childcare business work for you rather than you working for the business. And then also seeing how AI is revolutionizing everything from hiring to lesson planning and so much more. To present this information, like I mentioned, we have our 2 special guest presenters here today, Daniel and Sasha, who are the co-founders of Playground. Playground is currently one of the top-rated childcare management softwares that manages billing, attendance, registration, communication, paperwork, payroll, and beyond. Daniel and Sasha and their team are all working towards a mission of making excellent childcare accessible to all. And something super cool about Daniel and Sasha, they were both featured on Forbes 30 under 30 list. So we're sitting in the presence of some celebrities here. Passing along to Daniel and Sasha for them to tell a little bit more about yourselves and Playground, and for you to be able to dive into your content.
Thanks, Jen. We are so excited to be here. And hi, everyone. Thanks for spending part of your Thursday with us. Definitely not celebrities, but appreciate the shout out. My name is Sasha Rice. I'm one of the co-founders of Playground, and sitting next to me is Daniel Andrews. We'll dive in, just like Jen just gave an overview. I'm very excited about today's chat. We'll share our screen in a second, but first just wanted to tell you guys a bit more about us and a bit about Playground. And for that, I'll actually hand it over to Dan.
Hi, everybody. Also, thank you for the wonderful intro. I'm super appreciative to be here today. But so I'm Daniel, founder, CEO here at Playground, where high level, just an app and a website for managing childcare businesses. And so I like to illustrate that with more of stories and how we got here. So my mom ran a center for almost 30 years in Southern California. And growing up, I'd walk in and I'd just see, floor to ceiling filing cabinets. You would watch as she would collect checks, like paper checks from hundreds of families every single month. Attendance was a very manual, long process of just verifying, does this person legally have authorization to pick up or drop off their students? And so obviously technology is the solution to a lot of this. But just kind of really hit home a visual. When My mom would go through enrollment every year. She'd get literally hundreds of applications. And so in California, at least, it's like a 20-page, 30-page application with all the licensing forms, the waivers, the contracts, and very carefully going through a stack of papers, taller than I was, just checking to make sure every single signature is there, every single name is filled out properly, everything's spelled correctly, and that all the data was correct. And then, manually uploading that into whatever system they were using. And so I come from a tech background, realized that there's a much easier way to manage a lot of this, digitizing paperwork. And so where we say like efficiency and operationally and AI and automation and all these other things, but what that really means is it saves you a lot of time. Like you can just go home and do what you want or work on your business or communicate like more deeply with your family and your organization and just, spend time where you really want to, not on paperwork or day-to-day operations. Well, some of it, yes, but not some of those tedious things that we're able to take away.
And so what ended up happening is we built this, what is today Playground, for Daniel, for his mom, but also for the rest of their family. And Dan also comes from a family where preschool and early childcare really runs in the bloodline. So like his aunt is an owner of a couple locations. His grandma is an administrator in preschool. His sister is an occupational therapist in early childcare. So again, like to say that it's DNA or preschool is in the DNA would really be an understatement. And so Playground started out of this desire to build for family and has now expanded, nearly 5 years later to thousands of centers across the country. All that being said, let me share the screen here and we can jump into what we want to chat about today. And the topic of discussion is how to navigate the evolving tech landscape. I know that's like a mouthful, so we'll chat a bit more about what this actually means. So just to give you guys a bit of context again on who we are, Dan and Sasha from Playground. We actually last week were able to chat with Chris. We're on her podcast, and so that was a really exciting conversation. So if you haven't checked that out, please feel free to do so on the Childcare Rockstar Radio podcast. We're honored to have been named to the Forbes 30 Under 30 list, and just really excited to be able to continue our mission to make excellent childcare accessible to everyone. So there are way too many apps out there. The tech landscape is crazy. There's every single day I feel like I'm seeing new apps, new platforms. I'm sure, actually, I'd love to see in the chat if everyone wants to kind of put in like how many different apps or platforms you're currently using, whether it's DocuSign or JotForm for your enrollment process, whether it's a childcare management system like Playground for your communication and your attendance, whether it's something for billing, how about for your staff scheduling, your CRM, payroll, that's another big one. Would love to see in the comments, I'm seeing a couple come in, 5. Just throw them in there, 4, 7, wow, that's humongous. Too many apps, absolutely, Alki. So the good thing about apps is that you're using them to automate a lot of the work that otherwise you'd be having a real human do, which is very efficient. That being said, there's this concept of tech debt and the idea of having to juggle. Wow, I just see someone that has 9 apps. That's crazy. So juggling all these different systems. And when I say juggling, I mean making sure that the data is being carried over across all these systems gets to be a really, really big pain. And so today, what I want to talk about is how can we drive efficiency? How can we take a look at all of your processes, both across your tech stack, meaning all the apps that you're currently using, but then also the way in which your software or technology fits within your operations. And I know all of that is a mouthful, so I will give you guys actual examples of what I'm actually talking about here. And the big thing we want to think about is what processes are you as operators, owners, or your team repeating on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. This could be specific to your software. Maybe you're doing the same thing in your software every single time, like trying to bulk update a communication or issue a refund for a bunch of people on a weekly basis. Maybe it's a super clunky process for scheduling your staff and then reviewing their staff hours and paying your teachers. Maybe it's on the processing of registration. I'm not really sure what it looks like specific to your business. Part of what we do when we work with our providers is we take a hard look at what does your entire operations process look like and what can we start making more efficient. And let me get into that a bit more here. So both online and offline processes. Let's talk about your tech stack first. So, everyone that currently has 4, 5, 7, 9 different software, it's important and it's okay to assess your software's performance just like you would an employee. And so the reason why you invested in a software platform or platforms in the first place was to basically automate away a part of some task or a number of tasks that had to get done. And for some people, software does that, it checks the box. But in this ever-changing tech landscape, there are constantly new features being added. There are constantly new systems being built that can do more and more and more for you. And so our thesis here, our contention is that you should be looking for one system of record, one place through which all information flows in and out of. You want to be what we like to say, the allest in oneist. And so what that means for you, the same way that you as a business owner, director, or operator are constantly looking at other parts of your business, and thinking about how can we improve things? How can we get more reviews? How can we improve staff training? You want to do the same thing for your software.
Right. And so in the same way, like you're trying to be the all-in-one, one-stop shop for your families when it comes to care and education of their children. Like you might start offering before care or after school care or extracurriculars or events on weekends or other things. And you try to make sure that you're the place that like you can sell those other goods and services to your parents as they come in order to make sure that you're the allest and oneist for the care and education of the child. You should be evaluating the tools you use in a similar manner as your parents are looking at you. And while you might not offer like babysitting or weekend care or some of those other pieces as well, those are services that they're going elsewhere for. And for them, it's still a fractured system sometimes. Not that you should necessarily change everything and pursue all those opportunities, but understanding that that is like a decision or a cost benefit that some of these parents are using when deciding where to go.
Great point. So this is an operational efficiency scorecard, something that we will have as a resource at the end of this. This is also not specific to, it may not be specific to your business, but I do recommend is taking a hard look at your processes. You can download this and kind of use it as a template for your own business. But back to this point here, that it is okay to maybe on a yearly or every 2 years sort of cadence to take a hard look at your software system, at your payroll system, at your childcare management system, at your registration system, whatever it is, and figure out, okay, how can we get our 5 apps into 3? How can we get our 9 apps into 4, right? Not only does that save you on the actual, like from a cost perspective, on the actual cost each month of what you're spending on, but all of the technical debt that you or your team are currently having to spend of transferring data over, and sure, some systems might be speaking, but my hunch is that more often than not, it's a relatively disjointed system in terms of how data is moving back and forth. Cool. And again, this is across the board. It could be related to marketing. I'm assuming a lot of you folks have CRMs. Is that CRM connected to your socials, Facebook or Google? Is that then feeding straight into your registration or CCMS? Is the paperwork flowing across? On the operations side, how are things working on your lesson plans building? Are you getting everything connected in one place, or are you using different softwares for different operations? Cool. So just to give an example here of like the sort of the framework to use and the mindset to use, and I'll give you guys a framework later on called, or in terms of how you can actually build this out for your own processes. But let's just take a more generic workflow here of processing new registrations. So just to, again, this is going to be different for each person, but let's just assume part of this flow includes family needs to receive that paperwork, whether it's online via link where they download it and they fill it out. Maybe it's you guys are still doing paper and pencil. Maybe it's they get a link via DocuSign or Jotform. Not sure what that is, but you want to document that. Then family fills it out. Again, are they doing it online? Are they downloading it and doing it manually? Are they doing it through a DocuSign or a Jot form, or maybe through Playground? How do they turn that paperwork into you? Are they dropping it off? Is it a submission? Is it an email? You want to kind of like follow the data, map all of this out. Are you also collecting any sort of enrollment fee or application fee? How are you collecting it? If it's, maybe a check or something like that, what happens if it bounces? You want to kind of account for all this. And then on the, once it's all been collected, you want to then track all this and review, make sure all this looks kosher, looks good. How are you reviewing registrations? How are you communicating with the families about what needs to be updated? How do you ensure that there's as little back and forth communication as possible to remove that friction? How do you then communicate those enrollment status updates to families if they're on a wait list or if they've been accepted, right? Like that's one workflow for processing registrations, with a ton of places where you might have 1, 2, 3, or even 4 systems playing here. And so thinking about how can we make this as efficient as possible? What if we can do all this in one place? What if there's no barrier to entry? Families, instead of having to download paperwork, they can just fill it out directly online. And then they can also pay their enrollment fee. It goes through. They can't, turn stuff in unless all the fields are filled out and unless that payment goes through. What if they also get those communication updates in that same system or from that same portal? If that is not a case right now where you have everything streamlined, that'd be a great place to start and say, okay, hey, let's evaluate our tech stack. Let's evaluate which of our existing tools maybe can do this for us and how can we consolidate this further? Or if you're spending a lot of time on each of these steps, maybe it is worth your while to go and check out this ever-changing tech landscape and seeing, okay, maybe 5 years ago when we looked, there wasn't an option for us, but maybe there is now. And the same way that you are constantly working on your business for these other operations, there's absolutely no shame in evaluating and making sure that your software is continuing to perform in the way that your business needs. Awesome. The same can be applied to how staff are paid. So are you doing your scheduling on one system? Are you able to pull in your student data, or do you have like 2 different tabs open? How do you know you're staffing and staying in compliance with ratios? How do you also know that you're not overstaffing and overpaying where you don't need to? How are you then communicating to staff what their schedules look like? Is it in the same portal where they're, on their CCMS where they're constantly communicating with your families, or is it a different place where they're seeing their time worked? How are you then collecting their time and reviewing, making sure everything looks good before you send it off to maybe your payroll provider? Is your payroll provider yet another system with a different login where all of the taxes and calculations are done for you? Or is this one place? And then finally, our staff, again, are they logging into yet another app to see their pay stubs, to see their W-2s or their 1099s, to see all of this information? Or is this all in one place? Again, this will be different for each person here, and it's going to be important for you to think about these sort of big workflows that you're thinking through and how technology fits into it. Specifically with regards to, do you have one system that is your system of record where you can count on it and saying, this is our truth. We know that all the data here is accurate, and where you are not having to manually transfer data back and forth. I think you guys get the point. You can also do this for your operations with regards to referrals, but I'll skip this one for now. Now, in addition to taking a hard look at your current tech stack, there's other tools out there that can help you speed up a lot of your current operations. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of ChatGPT. We'll give you a brief demonstration of what it can do for your business. But a lot of the heavy lifting that you or your teachers or your administrative team are currently doing, think about how you can outsource a lot of that to some tools like ChatGPT.
Cool. And I'm sure you guys have seen demos, but we always love giving more examples of how we can use technology and leverage, especially the advances in artificial intelligence, in order to make things better. And so before we were talking about like those standard operating procedures or those things that you were building out in order to like go through each individual step and make sure that they're all documented and set up. But for example, if you don't already have one and you want like a great baseline to start off with, write a standard operating procedure for my licensed child care business. And so you can actually add a lot more information in here as well. But one thing that ChatGPT or just AI tools today are great at is just giving something very vague, and they can build a lot of structure that you can then modify, talk to, and keep updating as you go. And so here it's starting to create like a standard operating procedure for you in order to document those things, like Sasha was saying before with enrollment and paying your staff. But understanding what the document is, understanding the scope and definitions, and also who is responsible for what, and making sure that each step has an owner so nothing falls through the cracks. And one of the big reasons we love having everything in one system is that you don't have things fall through the crack. It's all right there. If somebody forgets to transfer data over, it's still going to work. But similar to what Sasha was showing before with those procedures, you can start seeing some of this set up here. Yours is going to look very different than this, and that's totally fair, but just understanding how that looks. You can also say, what technology can I leverage to make this easier for my staff and parents? And it will even offer some suggestions as well in order to make this much easier. So childcare management software is like Playground. And so I actually didn't plan this, but it did start saying that. And so you could start seeing that it has a bunch of these different pieces directly within this in order to find ideas. And maybe you have some ideas yourself, or you talk to friends, or your community, or Facebook groups, or whatever it might be. But here you can start seeing some other ideas for technology that I can streamline. And you can go and have conversations back and forth with this. It does act somewhat like an expert. Definitely, I wouldn't take anything that says like law, but it's a great way to start conversations around things like standard operating procedures.
And we'll talk a bit more about creating actual standing operating procedures for more specific operations and flows towards the end of the talk today. But this is a huge tool that you should absolutely be leveraging, whether it's for you as an administrator or for your teachers and helping them sort of come up with ideas or activities for the classroom, or even like drafting things like closing checklists or policies on things like lice or foot and mouth.
For teachers in a preschool. So here we're going to create a checklist. ChatGPT is going to help us create a checklist for teachers in a preschool to close up their class, at the end of the day. And so maybe this actually ends up being like printed paper and pencil. Maybe you have some online form management or checklist management tool. But here's like a way that you can start figuring out excuse me, sorry, figuring out which tools you want to, or like, sorry, which checklists you want to create, or what those checklists could look like. And you might already have a checklist, and you can use this to validate your existing ideas or find new ideas for things you might want to add in.
Awesome. Cool. So that is ChatGPT. Huge tool. Should absolutely be leveraging this across as many functions as you can. It's also great on the marketing side for creating things like captions for posts, or even content calendars for when to post on your Facebook or Instagram and what kind of posts to create. Zapier. Zapier is a phenomenal tool for bridging the gap in for data. So what we said before, for folks that are using 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 different pieces of technology, oftentimes you find yourself having to manually carry that information back and forth between systems if they don't talk. And Zapier is a really easy way for starting to bridge the gap between those two systems. And Dan will show an example of what Zapier can do.
So I actually just created a new Zapier account today. But the example is, like, for example, let's say you're getting a application or enrollment for your school. When I receive an application from for my school, I cannot type today. I want to send out a welcome letter to the family and alert me of the new application. And so this is just like an example, but again, we're going to use AI, who's going to automatically create a workflow for us. And this is going to take advantage of multiple systems in one. So here, I guess this is like Coursebox LMS, but you can replace this with whatever tool that you're using. So maybe it's like a Google form, or maybe it's a web form, or some other way that you're collecting applications. It'll automatically then send out an email to the family, welcoming them or like thanking them for the application, and then could send you a message, let's say through Slack, or it could send you an email or some type of notification letting you know what's going on. That might kick off that next process of actually reviewing the application. And you're able to go in here and like actually modify the steps and build this out. And so once I have this, I might switch this tool. I can also go and change the email as well. So I can modify the content, make sure it fits with my branding, everything else. And then I can also adjust like the kind of content I'm getting in terms of pieces there. But this is a really easy way to set up those workflows and automations in order to make sure that nothing falls between the cracks. And if you do end up using multiple systems, this is a great way to bring them together and make it feel as though it's one system.
Awesome. And the options here really are endless. I think this specifically is more so for like the way that we have it set up for this workflow is for on the enrollment / registration side of things, but you can again use that framework that we talked about earlier about assessing all of your operations and figuring out where pieces of the puzzle can be automated or where there needs to be bridges that have to be built. So Zapier.
Yeah, and just to clarify, both of these have free versions, and so you don't even have to pay for these. You can get like upgraded versions if you pay some, but you're able to test this out and work with some of your staff or back office or yourself just to see and make sure that it works for you first.
Awesome. On the financial side of things, making sure you have spend tracking solutions. So are you properly tracking your spend and your budgets here? Again, when it comes to financial data, you want to make sure that all that data is accurate because at the end of the day, that's your bottom line. Instacart, if you are delivering or providing food and care, you want to make sure that you are leveraging yourself and your time to the best of your ability. You could definitely outsource the food purchasing and delivery to something like Instacart. Again, the mindset as owners, operators is how do we work on the business instead of in the business, and kind of identifying those high leverage versus low leverage tasks to be done. And so, buying food is definitely a lower leverage task here that may not move the needle forward in terms of the growth of your business, but it's still business critical. And so relying on a system like this is well worth, the couple extra bucks for the delivery fee in terms of minimizing that administrative overhead. And then on the marketing side of things, Canva AI, there's a bunch of AI tools to help with this, but Canva is one of the easiest. Leveraging AI to help you create super fun illustrations and assets that you can post on your Facebook and your Instagram page. Really, like there's a very few excuses at this point to in terms of what you can creating content to post. There's a ton of tools out there to make that process incredibly quick. Like we said before, you could use ChatGPT to create your content calendar and even draft the captions for each post. It's always better, of course, to use actual photos from your program and from your facility, but being able to then paste that into Canva and get ideas for what this could look like to inspire the photos that you take. Or if you just want to switch it up and get like a fun, maybe it's a summer themed illustration or like a ocean themed one because summer is coming up, Canva AI or any of these other AI tools is a great way to do it. And again, there are free versions of this, which should help significantly. Sweet. And then on the actual operation side of thing, I'm not going to do too big of a plug here, but Playground, we are the allest in oneist, like we said before. So getting everything in-house, whether it's your payroll or your actual childcare administration, you want to make sure that your actual childcare management software is checking as many boxes as possible or planning on checking as many of those boxes as possible for your day-to-day. And like I said before, the tech landscape is constantly changing. And so for many folks, I know you've been on your system for years and years, but apply that mindset of, hey, my software is like my employee. We're going to make sure that they're still performing as we need to, even as our business needs evolve. And so a system like Playground, you want to make sure is continuing to perform in the way that it needs to. And if you're curious about seeing more, you can chat with us. And then finally, Loom. This is a huge tool, one that we leverage almost probably actually on a daily basis, multiple times per day at our own business. But Loom is massive it's basically a really simple video creation, like a screen recording tool for sharing with your team. So it's a simplified way to share knowledge. And we'll talk about how this can actually work for you. But Loom is incredible. I don't think we have like enough good things to say about Loom in terms of a tool for your operations as a business owner. And so we'll talk about what this actually can help with now. So the framework to use for identifying inefficiencies in your business is by creating standard operating procedures. What this basically means is you want to go through and document exactly how tasks need to be done. So the benefit of SOPs are quality as you scale here. So it ensures consistency and quality. It also boosts the productivity and performance of your employees. It means that they're going to be asking less questions about how to actually do something, and they're just going to be doing it more and more. Also, without a doubt, with that consistency comes safety and compliance, because all these tasks are in place to ensure the safety and the compliance of your program. And then finally, it actually just boosts the overall efficiency of your employees, because the time to ramp, the time to get someone up to speed and onboarded, whether it's a new employee or maybe someone got promoted and there's a transfer of responsibilities, that time to get trained is significantly lower. So what actually is an SOP? How do we do it? Why is this important? So let's just take that scheduling and paying staff workflow from earlier as an example for how we would write a standard operating procedure. And again, you could use something like ChatGPT to help draft this for you. But essentially, you want to document exactly what it is that you're documenting, why and who this process is for, and then actually going through in the same way that if your employee asked you, hey, how would I schedule and pay staff? It might even be a good exercise to out loud record yourself on your phone or on the computer or whatever it is. Record yourself like actually speaking out loud and explaining exactly how it's done, and then transcribing that into a document. And that is your standing operating procedure. Now, there's ways to make it better. Like you can add screenshots, and in this case, you could use Loom to basically record exactly how you would do things step by step in if it's a software system or whatever it might be. But that is a way that you can basically automate yourself out of these operational tasks and ensure that your team is doing it in exactly the way that you want them to.
Yeah, and just to show a quick example on how Playground uses them, we have a help center, which essentially defines a bunch of standard operating procedures for how you might go and interact with Playground as a software, which you might then use to add on in order to show how you might use your software, whatever it might be. But for example, if you want to add multiple student schedules in one day, we show step by step exactly how you're able to build that out, or scheduling future class changes. And so we have all of the different operations that are done in here. And so what we've seen some of our customers do is literally pull our help center articles and then walk through and use that to build out their standard operating procedures for how they go and document each of the different pieces.
And this can be done, obviously, that example was specific to Playground, but for your payroll system, showing how you actually think about calculating who's scheduled for when, how do you actually pull those hours and review them? Use Loom or use the help center guides from the different software systems that you use. And that way, again, you have this documented place for exactly how to go about completing the task. Not only, again, does this make it so much quicker for your team to get caught up to speed and for you to ensure standard quality across the board, but it also provides you with a really fantastic framework to then build upon and improve moving forward, because you have a documented space where it explains exactly step 1 is this, step 2 is that, step 3 is that. You and your team can take a look and say, okay, hey, how do we, between step 3 and 4, how do we actually improve this? And then you can just focus on those 2 steps, the parts that are currently inefficient. Once you figure out how you want to improve it, you just add that straight into the standard operating procedure, and the next person to go through it sees exactly that it's just built into the task to complete. And all that is just accounted for with a really, really strong framework for you to then apply to the rest of your business. Cool. So big takeaways here that we want to leave you all with. One is the tech landscape is constantly evolving, which means that more likely than not, if your needs are not currently met by your current software, there's probably some app or system out there that does it for you. Now, it's always going to be a cost-benefit analysis of, is it at this time worth to do the switch? And even if right now is not the right time, it's important for you to, as an owner, to understand, okay, there are operational inefficiencies here, and at a certain point, it might make sense for us to, find a system that's even more all-in-one-ist than what we currently have. And so it's important to have a framework in place and to be okay with the same way that you evaluate the performance of your staff and other parts of your business, to do the same thing on a regular basis for your software, whether it's payroll, childcare management, scheduling, registration, whatever it might be. It is okay and it's preferred that you are consistently evaluating how things can be better. The other piece here is, once you are kind of analyzing the actual software that you're using, you want to analyze also the processes in which the software kind of fits in, and making sure that that is being as efficient as possible. And the ways to do that, again, are documenting those processes and working on those processes using that standardized framework to then improve moving forward. Cool. And again, one thing that we always do when we work with folks is we take a look at that holistic picture to make sure that we are helping you understand what that looks like and what it could look like given your specific business needs. Awesome. Couple of freebies here before we get into the Q&A. I know Jen is excited to get into that. That childcare operational efficiency scorecard we are giving away. So again, this is like a more generic template that you can use for your business. You can also use this template and tailor make it for your own, make it specific to your current operations and your needs. But I think this is a great place to start. So if you want to use that, and then we're also giving away a little, I think it's 150 ChatGPT prompts for ECE administrators. So if you want ideas for how you could be using ChatGPT, feel free to scan the QR code and download that as well. So I'll leave this on here for the time being.
No, thank you.
That's it for us. So yeah, would love to hop into the Q&A, Jen, or if you have anything else.
Yeah, Daniel and Sasha, thank you so much. This was amazing. Even I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, I think the awesome thing that you did was walk us through some of that, because yeah, we use, these tools and these resources, but sometimes we don't know how well we can use them, or how we can even, with ChatGPT, like there's ways to ask questions to get, a more detailed response. So I appreciate it. It was so great. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, I did put in the chat, if you have questions, pop them into the Q&A section. Because it's a webinar, we're unable to unmute and ask questions. So we would love to be able to answer any questions that you have. And while you have these two geniuses sitting here, get the most of that time. But while we're waiting for some of those to pile in, if you're interested in talking to Playground and their team any more in depth about the solutions that they can offer you with their program and everything that they have, we encourage you to visit their booth at the Child Care Success Summit, which will be October 10th through 12th in Chicago. So hopefully you're going to be able to join us. And in fact, as a thank you for attending this webinar, we would just love to offer you, and it's valid only for today, $200 off the buy one, get one free ticket that we have that will allow you to join us. It's $200 off, and the code is only valid for today. So that code, I'll put it in the chat, but it's playground200. And when you enter that promo code at checkout, you will be able to get the buy one, get one free for only $7.97. So not only can you come and get all the amazing things out of our summit, but you'll also be able to meet Daniel and Sasha at that event and be able to learn more about their awesome program, Playground. So I'll go ahead and add this into the chat. Just don't forget, it ends tonight at midnight. So get your tickets today. Let's see. I know we have 3 questions here. We have Tiffany Taylor. Is Playground going to be offering payroll services soon?
Yes, great question. It actually already is out and live. So Playground Payroll is officially here. What this means is you can get rid of that additional payroll system if you wanted to. So if you use something like ADP or QuickBooks or Gusto, you can actually get rid of them because Playground does all that within the system. It's all embedded. So we do the automatic tax calculations, withholdings, and filings, direct deposit for your employees. We also do 401k, workers' comp, really everything that you are probably currently using on ADP or these other payroll systems, you can get rid of and use on Playground. Also, staff have their own pay stubs on there. Again, I know there's a ton of questions coming in about this, so we can also talk more about this now, or if you guys have your specific needs for your business, we can also set up a time and chat through it as well.
Absolutely. Will the software you mentioned be integrated into Playground?
So the the softwares that we're talking about today, so like the ChatGPT, Zapier, Canva, all those different pieces. So those are their own independent software providers. We have incorporated all of those into Playground. So ChatGPT, we have an AI assistant called Camber, who you're able to talk to directly within Playground. For Zapier, we have all of the email automations for registration, for paperwork, for communication, for all those other pieces already built into Playground as well. For the Canva AI, we have a whole newsletter feature where you're actually able to use AI to generate images and text and other materials to share with your families. And so our mindset is we don't want you going into a bunch of different products. We'd rather build the best possible thing just for childcare. And so ChatGPT is a very general tool, or Zapier is a very general tool, but you don't need a tool that's integrating with like construction software or with restaurant software. You want something that's specific and purpose-built for childcare. And so we make it a lot simpler, easier to use, and much more functional for your specific use case by taking out all that complexity and just building the automations and the AI pieces for childcare specifically.
Awesome. Okay, I'm seeing, do you have something for owners who are on the food program?
Yes, absolutely. So if you participate in the CACFP food program, there's an entire module for you as well. So you can add your menus, build them out in Playground. You can, duplicate them day over day or week over week. These menus are also posted for the families to see from their own calendar within Playground. And then you can designate the kids' status of their eligibility status in terms of free, reduced, or paid. You can pull attendance reports that also take into consideration point of service, meals served, and all the data that you need to package up and submit for your food reimbursement claims. And so again, if you wanted to chat a bit more about what that actually looks like for you, always happy to show you what that looks like. But in an answer, yes, we do support owners on the food program.
Awesome. The next question, we work with university students as our support staff. Therefore, shifts vary a lot according to each person's availability, like around their school courses. Would Playground still be able to help you automate that system?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's super easy to play around with what those schedules actually look like for staff. So you can, for example, see all of the student information that's already scheduled out, so you can make really well-informed decisions about when you should be scheduling staff, making sure that you are staying in ratio without actually overstaffing. And it's not like a rigid thing. So if you have students and someone can only work for 2.5 hours in the morning and then 3 hours and 20 minutes in the afternoon, the system on Playground allows you to set that up.
Awesome. I did have a question that I'm asking a clarifying answer for. So I'll see when they can get back to me. There's a lot of people asking about what your cost is, what's included. This is being recorded, so yes, you will be able to have the recording of this. I think if you want cost and what's included, I think you should definitely set up a consultation with Daniel and Sasha, because they're awesome. They're going to go over everything with you and for sure get you everything that you need. So I would say that would take care of that. We did the ADP. Well, do you work with a payroll company like ADP? That was the question. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great question. So no, Playground Payroll is a replacement for ADP. So it's just embedded in Playground.
We actually do what's called embedded setup. So we will take all of your data from whatever payroll system you're using and move it over to Playground for you for free. So if you're using an ADP, a Gusto, a Paychex, Paylocity, whatever it might be, we can transfer all of that information. You'll lose nothing, and you'll be set up and be able to run payroll through Playground. And so we're talking about one system for everything. All of that will be moved over and transferred, and we'll be able to maintain all of that for you.
I know that there was a question around QuickBooks. So like, would the accounting firm be able to be connected to Playground like it is to QuickBooks?
So there is a QuickBooks integration. It's currently in beta, but will be out by the end of this month, where we're able to push all of that payroll data directly to QuickBooks in order to keep that in sync if you prefer to do your accounting there. We do have accounting modules as well for all of your expenses, tuition, and payroll. But you are able to download and export all data from Playground. It's your data. We don't try to hold it from you. And you're able to upload that into QuickBooks with no issue.
Awesome. Maria said, can you provide a few daycare owners or directors from CCA that are already using Playground? I'd say take that to our Facebook group, because I don't know off the top of your heads, guys, if you know, you know who in our.
I know there are a bunch. There are actually a couple in the chat that mentioned they do use us already or starting to use us. There are also others that come to mind. I don't want to just like put them on blast without getting their permission first, but there are definitely plenty of folks from CCSA. So I'm sure if you post
you
on
can use our weekly Q&A to ask, and also your private Facebook group. I would say that would be the best place.
Yeah.
Somebody said you need to market hard in Indiana because they need you. So I think they're giving you a little bit of a tip there.
Yeah, we actually, if you guys happen to be in Indiana or in Iowa for that matter, we have a partnerships with the Department of Education, the state there, where they pay for Playground to be completely free. So if you are located there, take advantage of that. It's a pretty sweet offer.
That is awesome. Do you create and keep websites up to date?
We do. That's a separate add-on. So if you want us to also work on your marketing website, which are built, designed, and managed by our own team, we can do that as well. That's an additional piece that we offer, but yeah, that is available.
Somebody asked, where do I find that scorecard?
If you scan the QR code on the right side under childcare operational efficiency audit, it's a mouthful. We should probably improve that. But if you scan that QR code, it'll take you to a link where you can download.
Awesome. That's what I thought. It says it's taking them to the chat GPT prompt.
In that case, we will update. We can send out an email afterwards with a link to that.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I guess they're kind of talking about that. This is amazing. Somebody else said they use them. All right. Okay, I'm trying to just make sure I get everybody. I think we got it. They're kind of connecting in chat, so that's good. You guys are absolutely outstanding. You know, I have to say a dream come true in terms of all-in-one, because I know that everybody on here has felt the pain that I felt, where it's like, why can't one program do everything? So it seems like you guys are hitting that on the head, and truly, truly a gift to this industry. So I want to thank you so much for being here. I'm going to pop in that promotion one more time. If you guys missed the promotion to our summit, make sure that you get your ticket. Oh, Roxy came in here at the end. Do you have a curriculum integrated?
Curriculum, we do not have integrated, although we have a place for you if you currently have a curriculum where you can add in all of your lesson plans and assessments.
Awesome.
So no matter what curriculum you use, you can upload it. We're also able to work with any assessment framework you might be using. And so we'll handle all of that for you once we start working with you. It's a very white glove process. You send over materials and it'll pop up in your Playground instance.
Yeah. And Elke said, do you import CRM info? I'm sure you guys have an integration where you can like pull that data into it.
Yeah, if you're coming from another system, we're able to import information. But yeah, and we also have our own CRM. So if you are still on this theme with us on the all-in-oneist, really easy way to consolidate that even further.
I love it. All right. Thanks so much, Daniel and Sasha. I really appreciate you spending the time with us today and holding this webinar for everybody. I know I walked away with tips, so hopefully everybody else is feeling strong too. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for being here with us, and we will see you guys at the summit.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
See you at Summit.
Bye, guys.
Bye.